sense, we actually put 23 letters to the alphabet of the Spanish language, peoples from Nicaragua. So with that being said, we actually augmented the language that the oppressor brought to us and redefined it, because they really came with, word is through history that, they came with a messed up gibberish. Like, their language was horrible, and so-called primitive peoples, we made their language even better, adding 23 letters to the alphabet. So that just comes to show how intellectual we are. However, a Spanish brother is not a Spanish person. You understand what I'm saying? Look at his genetics. There's our genetics through the structure of the face that you can tell, and the melanin, the outer melanin that is on the epidermis. So we do have to understand who we are, and I do see that we have that situation. If you call a brother or a brother or sister from France and you call them a Creole, they'll understand that. You know what I mean? Because they understand that the Creoles were part of a revolution, even on the east coast of the United States, the Americas, and also in Haiti. Some traveled to London, St. Louis, all different places. And the problem that I see is that a lot of adults are feeding our generations wrong information because of the fact and lack of etymology and the study of it. So because of that, it's like, you have this colorism going on, where we have darker skinned brothers going against brothers who could be speaking another language and are speaking another language or what have you. And not only on top of that they're not speaking the language they're speaking, because that was the language that they created during the time of, abolishing slavery, which in all reality, going deep into that, some of them still sided with America, which I understand why you did that, and some still do, which is ridiculous and dumb, because now you're living here, so it's time to change, it's time to study. The reality is that we have to remember that we have to come out with our original languages. If it's not an original language, don't hold the brother clandestine or push him away because he speaks another language from another oppressor. You speak a language from another oppressor too. That doesn't make you better. Only because we broke up the languages doesn't mean it's an original language. So with the same stick you're measuring is the same measurement that you're going to be measured. Is the same measurement you're going to be, judged with. So with that being said, we definitely have to unite in the right direction towards liberation, and not because just some racist icon is popping out of nowhere. We have to study ourselves, study our etymology, where the origin of words came from, so we could understand and come out with our own language, and even so, understand who our brothers and sisters are, and not beat them down just because they speak another language. There's different colors of peoples all around the world that speak different types of languages, especially that live here in Florida and in Miami. And the only way that we're going to be able to get along is if we cut that off. We have to cut that division off, because that's what the oppressor did. It's like the Bible said. When in the Bible, when it states upon Babel, what was the destruction of the people? The lack of communication. The Tower of Babel was something that destroyed the people because of ego and greed and the lack of communication of. Now, the Almighty Creator did not create us to not be able to communicate with each other. So with that being said, we definitely have to take heed to the origin of words of etymology. Real quick, if you look even to the original languages of our brothers and sisters in Africa, which oversee the 2,000 years of existence of Latin. Now, that's pre-Caucasus history, from the Caucasus Repiciphaloid, that 2,000 years of existence of Latin has been on this earth. Now, our languages oversee those 2,000 years and beyond. You have records, gargantuous amounts of records of literature that oversee the Latin and Europa, Caucasus Repiciphaloid literature, whether it be Spanish, French, or what have you. The African language, as far as Amharic, Somali, Ge'ez, Kiswahili, Hausa, you have written scriptures, Heretic and Coptic, Meroitic and Old Nubian languages. You have Lipko from the Berber scripts. It goes on and on. Really, I have records of different languages from the African nation. Now, we are part of that nation, but we're new Africans. You have to understand that we're new Africans because we were brought here We weren't brought here by question. We didn't win a ticket. We didn't win the lottery. Like, oh, Allah, we won the lottery. Ooh. No, we didn't. You know, it wasn't like that. It definitely wasn't no lottery pick. You know, it was enslavement against our human rights. You know, so I'm gonna leave you with that. Let's study the etymology. This is etymology part 1. I'm gonna get more into depth, you know, upon etymology and the deciphering of etymology, so we could push forward from the you know, colorism and the whole fact of, you know, that we're not Latino, Haitian is not our race, you know, Salvadorian is not our race, Mexican is not our race, you know, all these things, all these words that I mentioned, that doesn't classify us as a race, you know. That could be your nationality, but that's not your race, and that doesn't merge us as a people.